Shockingly, Justin Gaethje is set to face Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight belt, and the UFC world is already erupting into chaos.
It's a business to build Paddy and make him easy fights, but I hope Justin gonna kick his, and we're gonna forget about Paddy for all our life. Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you.
This isn't just another fight, it's a seismic shift in the division. Gaethje, a human highlight reel with power that can end nights in an instant, is taking on Pimblett, who has shredded opponents like Michael Chandler with precision and cunning.
Obviously, you just saw Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim title. Earlier, Topuria posted, I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter. So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria.
Next, Ilia Topuria. The stakes are insane. The winner grabs the interim belt and a guaranteed shot at Ilia Topuria, who just stepped out of the cage for personal reasons, leaving the division's top rankings in total disarray.
Is there a world in which you would back up an interim title fight between Paddy and Justin?
No way. Unless if they pay good money, I'm not gonna be backup. But I'm gonna train just in case if something happened before 2-3 weeks, so I can jump in. You know, I gotta take the risk.
Stick with me, because the way this fight could reshape careers and leave some fighters trapped in limbo is something nobody in the MMA world saw coming.
Same like I would just maul his face on the ground just with my elbows. Even when I fought with Hooker, I was thinking, what should I do when I was on the top? Should I choke him or I just should like elbow him? And I just think, okay, no problem. Let's finish this fight. But with Paddy, I'm not gonna for the choke. I'm gonna just elbow him all day, all night. Just make his face like bleeding. I gotta leave a lot of marks on his face. That's my goal.
Ilia Topuria didn't stay quiet. He took to Twitter with a message aimed at Paddy. Win your next fight, hands up, chin down. Then came the bombshell, a dancing clip directly targeted at Arman Tsarukyan, sending shockwaves through fans and insiders alike.
Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, Paddy gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. He was fighting for the title maybe 5 times. So this is his chance and the end of his career. Win the interim title, fight for the real title, and then retire. That's the best for him. And I'm gonna, Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you.
Some loved the psychological warfare, others called it unnecessary drama, but one thing's clear, the lightweight division is now a pressure cooker, and the tension is almost unbearable.
We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC, put a beating on Michael Chandler. And let's remember, Chandler went toe-to-toe with Gaethje, gave Dustin Poirier a good run, knocked out Dan Hooker. So it's not like he's a bum. Yes, he hasn't been winning fights. We all know that. But Paddy made it look different. He beat the living hell out of it. Simple as that. And I knew he had something coming up because last week when I saw him in Qatar, the man was playing paddle, right? Like a paddler, bro. He had his shirt off in the sun. He was glistening. He had the 6-pack. He looked great. We all call him Paddy the Fatty, right? Well, he isn't fat right now. The man looked to be in the best shape of his life.
Hold on tight, because we're about to reveal why Topuria's tweet isn't just fun and games. It's a calculated move that could tilt the mental battlefield in his favor long before the cage door closes.
We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC, put a beating on Michael Chandler. And let's remember, Chandler went toe-to-toe with Gaethje, gave Dustin Poirier a good run, knocked out Dan Hooker. So it's not like he's he's a bum. Yes, he hasn't been winning fights. We all know that. But Paddy made it look different. He beat the living hell out of him. Simple as that. And I knew he had something coming up because last week when I saw him in Qatar, the man was playing paddle, right? Like a paddle bro. He had his shirt off in the sun. He was glistening. He had the six-pack. He looked great. We all call him Paddy the Fatty, right? Well, he isn't fat right now. The man looked to be in the best shape of his life.
Arman Tsarukyan, meanwhile, made it clear he won't back the Gaethje Pimblett fight unless the UFC pays big, but he admitted he's staying ready in case an opening emerges a few weeks out.
We know an interim champion basically means the #1 contender. But if Paddy can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett.
He's positioning himself like a predator lurking in the shadows, fully prepared to swoop in, and this strategy is creating one of the juiciest what-if scenarios in recent UFC memory.
You wait in as a backup fighter, which sucks. Yeah, they pay you, but it sucks. You have to cut weight, not even knowing if you're gonna actually fight. So he did that. Backup fighter. Doesn't get the call, but may wait. Show the UFC that he's a company guy. He's gonna do what he can to make things right. Then he goes on and he fights again. Defends his #1 spot. Beats Dan Hooker and gets a finish. Then, I want to say, yeah, a week later, almost a week later, I'm sure if he had the opportunity to fight for the interim title between Paddy Pimblett or Justin Gaethje, he would have done it. Unless we're all completely mistaken and he said, no, I won't even want to fight for the title, or that's it. And that's against Ilya.
And Arman didn't stop there. When asked if he want to silence Paddy himself, he didn't hold back. Absolutely, he said, promising it wouldn't be a choke or a quick finish. Elbows only all night until Paddy's face is covered in cuts.
I think Arman would have taken the fight. That's just what I would think. It's not too bad of a turnaround. And on top of that, he just won, got a finish, didn't take a lot of damage. I don't know how hard the training camp was, but didn't take a lot of damage. It sucks to see that.
The man's goal is pure carnage, leaving physical marks and sending a message that goes beyond victory. This is personal, and it's vicious.
I think that this is a very valid reason not to fight. You know, we have seen people fight with things on their mind. There's too much at stake. There's too much at stake right now in his career. He is too big of a star to go in there compromise, not 100%. His heart elsewhere, his mind elsewhere. And so I think that what he is doing is the mature, it is the professional thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do for his career, for his brand, for himself, for his family.
On the other side, Arman has eyes on Gaethje too. He's urging Justin to stay disciplined. No partying, no distractions, full focus.
I said I wanted to see Paddy fight for the belt. God bless. I said, Justin, you know, I think you need to win a couple more. He said he was going to retire. Unless he got a title fight, I guess he's not retiring. He's fighting for an interim title. But this is a bogus fight. And it's insane to me that it is headlining over Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. On paper, Paddy versus Justin, if Paddy wasn't fighting Ilya and Ilya's supposed to fight Arman, on paper, Paddy versus Justin is a fine fight to determine the #1 contender to fight Ilya and or Arman. Ilya won that belt back in June. I don't even think you need an interim title fight. Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, #1 contender fight, Ilya versus Arman, second half of the year.
He even offered to fly out and help train, making it clear he wants Gaethje to win, not for friendship, but because he can't stand Paddy and sees this as a chance to rewrite the narrative.
What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? I know he had the fight back in January. He got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently. He went out there. He steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next, apparently. Now, of course, everything can change. Nothing really means anything. They make up the rules as they go along. But to put Justin and Paddy in the interim title slot and then have the winner of that fight Ilya is insane to me. And worse than that, because we have seen interim title fights that have felt a little fugazi. I cannot believe that they are headlining this card with that fight.
Michael Bisping joined the conversation, calling the Gaethje-Pimblett matchup brutal despite Gaethje's past loss to Holloway. Bisping reminded everyone that Justin's power, precision, and relentless pressure make him one of the deadliest fighters alive, and that Paddy is stepping into a pressure cooker that could explode at any moment.
I reckon Pimblett's beating him. Mixing up the grappling and the striking, staying at range, not being in the pocket with him like a Chandler would be, like a Fiziev would be. I reckon Pimblett's gonna beat him. Gaethje coming towards the tail end of his career. I just want to mention now.
He also gave Paddy credit, pointing out his conditioning, sharpness, and recent victories, reminding fans that this isn't Paddy the Fatty anymore. This is a lean, calculated threat capable of shocking the division.
Arman Tsarukyan is... this is tough for Arman. Okay, he's probably going to have to fight someone else. He said he would be on this card. I don't know if they then called him and he said, no, I can't be on that card, and that's why they've done this. If that's what comes out from this, I guess it could be a bit more understandable, because otherwise it would have been Nunes Harrison to main event, and we just can't have that. We just can't have that. But this is insane. Gaethje versus Pimblett is an absolutely insane fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Aljamain Sterling weighed in, spotlighting Arman's journey to the #1 spot. He took an Islam fight while injured, stepped in as backup, made weight, and proved his dedication to the UFC.
So not only, obviously the interim title is there for a reason, but not only are you going to get Paddy the Baddy versus Gaethje for the interim, but they're automatically going to get the title shot versus Ilya, which double makes this the stupidest interim title fight you could have at lightweight. Because one man is not involved. Where the hell is Arman Tsarukyan? This is the rightful #1 contender at 155, and he is nowhere to be found in the plans for a title shot at 155. It makes no sense. Dana's not going to explain why, because he doesn't have to, because the UFC, again, is trending further and further away from a sport and further toward WWE.
Sterling believes Arman would have accepted the interim fight if timing allowed, making his absence from this card one of the more frustrating controversies in recent UFC memory.
Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. Now, Justin Gaethje had said, listen, I'm not going to continue fighting unless I get a title shot. I guess he kind of gets what he wants there as far as he gets an interim shot, right? He was like, I'm going to retire if you don't give me a shot at the belt. And then you have Paddy Pimblett, who, I'll be honest, yes, I did want to see fight Ilya Topuria because they have the rivalry, because it goes back for so long, because I think it would be a fun build to a fight. But when you look at Paddy's record, you have him beating Gordon, old man Tony Ferguson, old man Bobby Green, and then Michael Chandler. You fight who's in front of you, so I guess you can't really blame Paddy for that, but it's like, how does that offer you a #1 contenders fight without fighting someone in the top 5?
Ariel Helwani explained why Ilya Topuria stepping back was the smart move. Competing while mentally distracted at this level is dangerous, and Topuria's star power is simply too big to risk a compromised performance. Ariel also called the interim belt unnecessary, framing Gaethje versus Pimblett as a bogus headline that overshadows legitimate matchups like Nunes versus Harrison, leaving hardcore fans shaking their heads at the UFC's logic. Meanwhile, MMA insiders are predicting a Paddy upset, citing his unique combination of grappling and long-range striking. Justin, at the tail end of his career, could find himself trapped in scenarios where Paddy's style exploits his age and tendencies, potentially flipping the fight on its head and leaving fans stunned. Wade Plemons slammed the UFC for bypassing Arman Tsarukyan, calling the interim title decision absurd, and warning that this kind of booking is starting to feel like WWE spectacle rather than legitimate competition. He noted the illogical chain of events. Gaethje talks retirement without a title shot, suddenly gets an interim one, while Paddy jumps straight to #1 contender without defeating a top 5 opponent. The lightweight division is upside down. Stars are leapfrogging rankings, contenders are stuck waiting, and interim belts are raising more questions than answers. Fans are furious, insiders are debating, and the storyline is spiraling into one of the messiest, most controversial UFC chapters in recent memory. Don't look away, because in the next segment, we'll expose the single tactical move that could end Gaethje's career or cement a shocking new era in the lightweight division forever.